Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. It's Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the second half of the weekly comic book roundup. So, we're really kind of... Let's get started, shall we? First off, we've got Marvel Comics Presents number 7. As you'll recall, the concept with this is it's an anthology book featuring 3 stories. Primarily, however, it has Wolverine's story, The Vigil. Where we left off in the 90s, Wolverine, or the X-Men and Wolverine went to help stop the truth and came upon Wolverine's daughter, Sylvie. However, a few of the X-Men died during the battle, but Sylvie was able to send the truth away. We start off on 9/11 with Logan in New York as the towers fell, or after the towers had fallen. Explains that he'd lost everything. After the deaths in Montserrat, the X-Men turned from him, or maybe he turned from them. Either way, he was alone. And in the last years of the 20th century, he wandered, spitting out the years, waiting for the millennium to turn. And as the new decade began, he began his hunt for his daughter in the worst places of the world. We get what equates to a montage of Wolverine in various locations. Wolverine going through various fights, military, fighting in either Afghanistan or Iraq, taking, of course, tons upon tons of punishment. Just continuing, and also just drinking a lot. Apparently, it would seem he'd lost some weight. Grown a mustache. And in November 2008 in Mumbai, Sylvie fights the truth and once again dispels it. She smells something, however. And she explains who she is. Apparently, she is of the opinion that she is not Logan's daughter. Sylvie is simply a name she has taken. Her people did not give her a name, as they decided that she didn't need one. They called her La Reine Durien. She just uses Rien, which means nothing. She has noticed that every time the truth returns, it is smarter and stronger. She needs to be that. Needs to be as well. And he explains that it wasn't Sylvie he was hunting. Yeah, it was the truth. So he's decided that they're not going to wait for it anymore. They're going to go find it where it lives. They're going to hell, and they're going to kill that thing. And then both will be free. At this point, Wolverine has also grown quite the bushy beard. Next up, we've got Market Correction featuring Iron Man. This takes place during the financial crisis of 2008. We begin with Iron Man fighting an armored foe called Subprime Mortgage Man. However, subprime mortgage man is able to defeat him first by trapping him in a housing bubble briefly, and then with his CDOs, and he ends up trapped in a, but he wakes up in a he wakes up, however, and it was just a nightmare. And he has to testify in court, which he does, and he explains that the person on trial, trying to recruit him into his scheme, wanted Stark endorsement to move some CDOs, which, for reference, CDOs being collateralized debt obligations. And he wanted a Stark endorsement and, if possible, an Iron Man endorsement. And so the whole thing is the part of the thing is explained that basically, if or now as it actually did happen, when these all fail, these toxic mortgages, the people investing in them, they don't lose money. It's the banks that do. Of course, when the banks fail, they get a bailout. At worst, not to pay a fine, much less than the investment. And so, but the guy he testified against didn't end up getting no jail time. So Tony goes to him. He's brought an armor for him, an Iron Man suit. Wants to put it on because he needs. Because I guess Tony needs the guy to somehow be defeated. And in the end, he puts it on and getting ready for the fight. That's where it ends. Finally, we have the Winter Soldier in Cineo Alia. I am butchering it's Latin. I'm butchering it. I'm sorry. Cineo Alia Essent Visibilia Omnia. God, I'm pretty sure I butchered the hell out of that. So we start off in New York City, 68. The Winter Soldier is chasing after a college professor. Apparently a college professor who defected presumably from the Soviet Union. He just misses hitting some kids. Gets out of the car and tells them to play somewhere else. Kid that he almost hit points at the lot and says, "Hey," which has a sign saying, "This lot condemned by order of the city planning commissioner." They can't, when they can't anymore. So Bucky goes to look at it. Apparently, Winter Soldier goes to look at it. He's thinking that a memory hits him. Maybe it was from maybe it was from Bucky's luck because there wasn't from Winter Soldiers. But he takes care of the takes on the professor. Then he goes after the city planning commissioner. Fights the guy's security. Turns out that the guy also has some animals in it, locked in cages up below, which Winter Soldier takes down. He makes it to the planning commissioner. whispers something in his ear, which causes the planning commissioner to write something up. Fast forward to now. Bucky's walking through the city, thinking to himself that taking a walk was supposed to be self-care. So anything he buy on said walk is self-care too, right? But he changed. Looking at it, he's looking at a vintage motorcycle. He changes his mind, but he's reminded us when he sees a park. The highway curves around the neighborhood and leaves room for a nice little park. It's a good idea. And, he's waved at. In Calvary Cemetery in Queens, an old woman, her daughter, and the daughter's son were leaving flowers at a grave. But there's also a statue. Pointed out of the planning commissioner with Sine eo alia essent visibilia omnia on it, explaining that what it roughly means is without him, everything you see would be different. And that's where it ends. Moving on to Secret Warps Part 5, Iron Hammer Annual, number 1. Where we left off, the Infinity Warps, as well as the Supreme 7, had been further merged. Okay. Ghost Panther and Iron Hammer had refused into Ghost Panther. Arachnite and Soldier Supreme into Spider Supreme. Weapon Hex and Captain Peace had been fused into Weapon Peace. Oh, I can't remember all. I cannot remember all of the. Anywho. But the Soul Shatter seems to be. We get an explanation of the Soul Stone. However, now it seems the Soul Stone is cracking and splitting, driven by a single flaw in the Infinite design. And Sigurd Blaze, born to Chala Odinson, is now beginning to wonder, can any soul survive should the Soul Stone shatter? We get the new histories of Ghost Hammer Weapon Piece and Spider Supreme. Ghost Hammer's new origin being cast out of the African pantheon of Asganda for his hubris, wandered Norway as the daredevil Sigurd Blaze for 5 long years until his father was murdered by Erikith Mandraven and his 10 Mars rings. Now the King of Asganda fights for the Queen of Vengeance, Madame Zarathos, as the Ghost Hammer. Peter Rogers was just a kid when Dormammu Green murdered his parents, and the disguised spider totem, Dr. Morgan Alapaic, turned him into not 1, but 4 magical super spider soldiers in a single body. Now his personas unite to fight for what's right, as the Spider Supreme. Laura Danvers was raised by her evil father as the vessel of Mephictha Zarkoneg, Dark Lord of Time, but her mother taught her to use her temporal magic to escape his influence, and she swore never to be anyone's weapon again. Now she is the Time Flight Authority's living weapon, fighting for free will and rigid determinism as Weapon Peace. However, Weapon Peace is having problems because she is sensitive to fluctuations in time, and the rewriting of history is agonizing for her. Apparently there are too many contradictions, and her history won't coalesce. The past doesn't make sense. So she pops her hex claws and sticks them in the side of her head, and while chanting a spell, temporal magic, and she has surgically removed her own past. It was going gangrenous. However, now the Supreme Seven have also been further fused. Dr. Hyper Justice, Eagle Mask, Mr. Magnolodon, and Rush. However, oh god, I hate this name. Mephictha Zarko Neg, the Tomorrow Demon, has arrived. And with him, Zeke Stain, aka Stain Odinson. And so, of course, we get Doc Hyper Justice and Spider Supreme both throw their magic shields at him, at the Tomorrow Demon. However, and it's just a scratch. But the Supreme Demon of Time need not stay his own hand by swatting these pathetic creatures when he can tear up the very fabric of space-time itself to summon the ultimate enemy to do his bidding. And so appears, oh boy, Dumatigo, the Stranger Planet. But they've got help. The wonderful one, Ruben Storm, as well as Moon Weasel and Little Tippy Sore. The battle continues. However, then the heroes are further fused. And it turns out that Zeke, and so the combination of Ghost Panther, Arachnite, Iron Hammer, and Soldier Supreme face Zeke Stain. So he is the flaw in their universe. Every soul was, in the cosmos was a double soul in perfect harmony, except for his. And so he manages to right things and repair the Soul Stone. And the warps are once again as they were. No longer combined into multiple ones. However, there are various enemies. Oh crap. Zarkoneg, Mephictathon, Stranger Ego, Demactus. They all leave. But it turns out, and Zeke Stain's soul is now bound into Iron Hammer's hammer. But someone has been watching. Someone who begins to wonder if the Soul Stone that houses this universe is that also reflected in the universe, along with others. someone who knows that reality demands balance. What the figure watching is none other than Corvus, the God Titan. A combination of Korvac and Thanos. Next, we get a Iron Hammer backup story. Fenris in a bottle. Fenris Wolf is loose, and the Warrior Machines 3 are trying to stop it. Meanwhile, Sigurd Stark has been fired from his own company, and is turning to drink. But his good and possibly only friend, Dr. Jane Happy Hogan, arrives, and just as the Warrior Machines 3 arrive as well. Turns out he has an armor for her. And the quintet work together to take down Fenris. However, for a brief moment, Sigurd cannot wield his hammer. And so, Jane Hogan lifts it and manages to vanquish Fenris. Explaining that she's not worthy. She simply did some biohacking so that it would answer her instead of him. Though Sigurd just figures, hey, that's close enough to being worthy. And so Sigurd Stark manages to have set aside his double life briefly, explaining away his Iron Hammer is none other than his bodyguard, with Jane in the armor. And that is where the issue ends. As well as the Secret Warp story. Next up, we've got the Marvel's Epilogue. So, where we left off in Marvels, the 60s were coming to an end. And, and Phil Sheldon had set aside trying to always get pictures of the Marvels whenever they did something that everyone else couldn't do. So, our story opens at Rockefeller Center. Yeah, at Christmas time. Phil and the girls are looking at the tree and the ice skaters. And Logan remarks about his patch and asking us from the war. And Phil explains it, just before, but then Logan asks him for a light, though apparently Phil no longer smokes. And Logan walks off saying could have fooled me under his breath. We learned that Phil hadn't had a cigarette in almost a year. He'd had a health scare. Decided to start taking care of himself. He's even back to work. Another book about the Marvels. Maybe he was in the mood to give up after all. And there are a few familiar faces in the spread. Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Piotr Rasputin, Aurora Monroe, Nick Fury, the Contessa, and of course Banshee, or Sean Cassidy. But at the top of one of the towers, or one of the skyscrapers, why, a sentinel attack. There's a sentinel attack. And the X-Men go after the sentinel. One of Phil's daughters, Beth, starts snapping pictures of the whole thing. Once all is said and done, however, Nova manages to. Cops show up, and Nova shows up asking if he can help. And they at least have a few pictures of him saving a few people. As well as a double-page spread of, well, all that he went through, all that Phil went through. And bet when he's asked if taking pictures of the marbles was just like that, and he says, "Yeah, it is a lot like it." It's a really short story. The bulk of this is really interviews with writer Kurt Busiek and artist Alex Ross. But the story, the meat of the story itself takes place during X-Men number 98. Alrighty, moving on to Star Wars: The Age of Resistance special. So we got 3 stories: one featuring Maz Kanata, one featuring Amilyn Holdo, and one featuring BB-8. So we start off with the Maz Kanata story, Maz's Scoundrels. Maz is flying with Chewie and Han and the Falcon in wild space. They're going after a Deberonian named Baron Samariva. He's not a baron of anything. He just likes it, and he's bullied everyone into calling him that. Apparently he stole something from her, and she wants it back. And so the 3 of them make it to the ice planet, which Samariva is using as his base of operations. And they utilize a vehicle to get to his camp. Eventually making their way there, and well, Maz goes off to get what was taken from her. Chewie eventually goes after her. And well, turns out that Chewie's not going to be happy when he shows up to deal with the Baron, because, well, the Baron appears he's decided to be wearing a Wookiee pelt. They get what was taken. It appears to be a mask. And actually, now I look at it, it looks to be Dirge's mask. I think. I could be mistaken, though. Next up, we've got The Bridge, featuring Amilyn Holdo. This takes place during the Galactic Civil War. Amilyn Holdo's aboard a ship. And over the course of the mission, dyes her hair purple. However, the ship is set upon promptly by a Star Destroyer. the captain is killed, and so Holdo takes over, being the ranking person aboard. But the Star Destroyer has their ship in its tractor beam and is pulling it towards it. And so Holdo has them fire into the cargo bay, which gets them out of the tractor beam, and they continue to fire. So they've managed to blast a hole in the other side of the Star Destroyer and fly through. And then Holdo explains what happened and is made captain of the vessel, which is where things end. And finally, we have Robot Resistance, starring BB-8. We begin on the planet Josh in the Flanagan system. Apparently, Poe Dameron has appropriated a First Order cargo ship, which got them on the planet painlessly. And so now, BB-8 is sent in to gather information. He did suggest that the BB-8 need to be discreet. But he spots a stormtrooper torturing droids, and despite Poe's objections, BB-8 gets involved, talks some with the droids, then goes on to get the information he was sent to get. However, a couple stormtroopers find him and slap a restraining bolt on him, cutting off his comlink. But the droids he rescue BB-8 and remove this restraining bolt, and then they put various explosives around the power core and make their escape. BB-8 then tells Poe after the base blows up that there's a surprise. So they arrive back at the Resistance base, and Poe explains to General Organa that BB-8 is the one who really did all the work. And he also brought some new recruits, the droids, who are welcomed by General Organa with open arms. And that is where the issue ends. Finally, our last book of the week. Batman, Last Night on Earth, #2. Now we're going to be referring to this as Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, because it's separated into books by itself, inside. So where we left off, Batman was dead. Batman had died, but he had also left a contingency plan for a new Batman. And that Batman, well, a clone of Bruce, with Bruce's memories, escaped the simulation he was in, and got the simulation he was in at his own request, and began to make his way out of Gotham, or away from there at least, along with the Joker's severed head, which was still alive. In a jar, but still alive. He encountered Wonder Woman and various allies of hers. He was beginning to find out just what had happened. Well, part of what happened. So we open with part 5. Who's there? So part 5 opens up in Joe Chill's apartment. Batman has come to. Chill is cooking, but Batman comes in and they talk. Batman, after all, has questions. There's a dead boy in Crime Alley. No records, no identification, 10 years old. DNA says he's Chill's son, but Chill never had a son. And apparently Joe knows that Bruce is Batman. But this was a dream. And a Speed Force storm starts to barrel through where Batman and Joker are. Bruce briefly sees the various flashes caught in it. You know, there's no helping them. So they continued on to Fort Waller. A base powered protected by a nuclear man. Which is funny because it seems Captain Atom was the power source, but Firestorm was the nuclear man. So the red and the green blessed it with their avatars and was meant to be a bastion of science, nature, and human will, where humanity would make new heroes, better heroes. Whatever Fort Waller had once been, it was now a place of animal men, unknown soldiers, haunted tanks. The site where one parliament had been brutalized, pillaged, the other burned in the fighting, its protector left mindless and adrift. A war zone where instead of working together, they'd fought each other for what little power was left. Left in the radioactive bones of a murdered superhero, or the scraps of the once glorious red. We see unknown soldiers fighting the animal. Various bandaged soldiers and tanks fighting animal men. And then comes the swamp. Comes Swamp Thing. Presumably to finish things up. Back in Gotham, Alfred's walking about when he runs into Bane and Scarecrow. Apparently, Omega sent them. Oh, and they're not in Gotham. Omega sent them. And Omega wants Alfred to come back to Gotham, where Omega will take him in, make him stronger. And Alfred admits he made a terrible mistake. The mistake being not killing, I presume by you all he means the various Bat villains when he had the chance. However, Scarecrow managed to get the drop on Alfred and inject him, and Omega seemingly shows up. Telling him that Alfred did it. He convinced the Waynes not to go to the showing of Zorro after all. And he saved them. He saved them all. He tells Alfred to sleep, and Alfred collapses, presumably dead. Apparently, Batman and Joker then continued through past the Crocodile Men of Fawcett City, past the Imp Death Grounds, shrouded in cartoon mist, across hill country where the great space cavalry tried to help, a graveyard of otherworldly machines, ships with caged universe hearts, god engines, and zeta cannons, Radian, Thanagarian, Tamaranian, Apalaxian, Kaluan, names like ancient poetry. They lay rotting, leaking stardust in the tall grass. After 2 weeks, they reached the Plains of Solitude. And apparently, Joker's been constantly asking Batman if Joker could be the new Robin. And then a rocket crashes in front of them. Rocket much like the rocket that brought Superman to Earth. And seemingly, however, a bearded Superman shows up and takes in Batman and the Joker. The farm's there, and well, so's Lex Luthor. Lex explains that it's not. That it's not the Superman that Bruce was looking for. He's also made some modifications to the remaining Superman robots. As he's been trying to bring back Clark, or bring back Superman. But every time he does it, well, the ships just end up with. He tries to manipulate the physics of those portals just enough to control the trajectory of an object passing through, but all that's left is dust. So apparently what happened, though, is Lex challenged Superman to a debate, good and evil. The last debate. You know, winner take all kind of thing. And apparently he'd sunk kryptonite stake shards beneath the land. Apparently the shards were kind of sunstone that reacts to emotion and will, if one knows how to connect. And so it was set up that once the debate was over, you know, justice, good or evil, would be just. And even Lex admits he was swayed by Superman's speech, and his speech in response was half-hearted at best. But the Legion had turned on him. And the kryptonite shards grew out of the ground and skewered Superman. Apparently they made another Batman even. That didn't work. And the world just blew up. Anyways, the Superman robot that we first saw was now under control of Bane and Scarecrow. But Wonder Woman shows up to save the day. However, Bane and Scarecrow have gotten all the others as well. Lex teleports Batman, Wonder Woman, and Joker away. To where the Spectre fell. So they make their way to the underworld. Batman sees everyone. There are voices calling to him, but he sees them all. Well, most of them. He also sees Alfred. And so they continue on their journey. They arrive in Gotham, which does not look anything like Gotham. Apparently Omega has everyone under the control of his half-life signal, or his his anti-life signal. But Batman and Wonder Woman are quickly surrounded by the Court of Owls. They begin fighting. However, one of the members of the court has a familiar sounding voice. Batman reveals he is Bruce Wayne. Talon then unmasks himself as Dick Grayson. And that is where the issue ends. is also where the roundup ends. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal are in the description box down below. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I put up new content. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.